Hello, good morning, everybody. I just want to do a quick stream by myself talking into the screen, and we'll see how it goes. It's mostly because I used to do this a lot back when I did YouTube in the day. This was the main way of doing it, and basically just to share thoughts regularly through this medium. And so that's what I'm doing because I woke up early like I always did to work, and I can't focus on my work because of something that's bothering me. I need to get off my chest. I'll probably turn it into a essay at some point. But it's basically this. It's that um, I have noticed that in the Catholic Church, amongst Catholics, they think it is a mortal sin, unjustifiable, to use vulgarity. That there is no way you could ever justify talking that way um, as a Catholic. And that um, it's totally okay and even commendable behavior to try to break a marriage on purpose because you don't like the way it's structured. A thing that God put together in a church. One of the reasons I joined the Catholic Church is because it was the only church that took the biblical teaching of marriage seriously, from what I could tell, and said that there is no reason why a man and a woman should be separated when God joined them together. Jesus Christ our Lord said for adultery, a man can put away his wife, you know, and and, and the church fathers said, and they should try to be reconciled. So, and that's it. That's the only thing in the teachings of the church. But every other philosophy, every other theology I could find did not believe that. And my parents got divorced, and it has wrecked my life and the lives of all my siblings. And I am convinced and have been convinced from a young age this is natural law. In fact, I was listening to an atheist talk about this last night. He said, uh, he said, how in the world could biblical law be um, the foundation of societies and whatnot when in the Bible Cain kills Abel, murders him, and he does not have the Mosaic law to tell him that it is wrong. He does not have the Ten Commandments at that point. They have not been given to Moses. Moses is a son of Seth. To tell him that it was wrong to murder his brother, and he still knows it is wrong to murder your brother. He knows it by natural law, and that's very true. And that I think that's part of the reason why God is converting so many people to the Catholic Church, because Catholics are retarded and believe all these teachings of men that you can't say the F word, that you can't say the S word, that it's totally unacceptable, that it's never what a man would do. And it doesn't even matter. I had this disagreement with Kennedy Hall very briefly, and it was very ironic. And his response basically says how ignorant he really is. Now I get it because he's grieving. Well, I'm grieving too. I lost a son not long ago for this exact issue. I'll tell you exactly what happened. But Kennedy Hall released something about Nick Fuentes, and he has a small audience. Uh, Kennedy Hall, Mr. Hall has a small audience on Substack right now. So I said, well, I'll go in there. He's a Catholic man. I'll support him by engaging with him because I'm engaging with a lot of Christians and atheists, all these kinds of people, and Gentiles or whatever, people that probably convert at some point. And I said, well, what you have to understand about Mr. Fuentes, and really not so much about him, but about his generation, because I don't know much about Mr. Fuentes, but I know a lot about men my age and younger than me, single men. I know a lot about them. I said, what you have to understand about them is been they have woken up in a world where ritualistic satanic pedophilia is the norm. Everyone knows about it, and the whole world answers to the people who commit those acts. It's mainstream news. Everyone's talking about it. That's the world that these men have woken up into. And they, in their souls, know that violence is the reasonable response in most cases of that crime. They know it. And then you have the older generation, the men that are supposed to be guiding them, and they are so concerned that these people cuss. The Mitsuentes cusses. Well, yeah, I mean, he probably does it too much. I watched his stream and it was too much and I couldn't watch it. That was the only time I ever watched it. But that doesn't mean I disagree with what he says. I got little children running around. I don't judge him for cussing. I understand why you would cuss. Anger is very reasonable. And so I told Mr. Paul that, trying to explain to him, maybe you should be a little more charitable with these men, because there are many reasons to be angry. And he said, well, go touch grass. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? I just replumbed my sink. I was rolling around in a crawl space. I dug a hole under my house myself. Something plumbers aren't willing to do. They charge thousands of dollars for it. I tunneled under my house. I've got a sheep in the yard watching me while I did that. I've got pigs in the backyard. I am a farmer. I've touched way more dirt than you did. Couldn't believe it. And it's a certain blindness. I have said, and I believe it, that the younger generation is wiser than the older generation. I just said that to Dr. Jones, not in all those words. I didn't want to offend him because he's one of the few men over 50 that seems to understand this. I know a few, and some of the most virtuous men you'll ever meet is somebody who's a baby boomer over 50 who has humility, who is not full of pride, who does not think that he should be dictating, who looks at young men and says to themselves, well, maybe they have a point. If a man gets angry, the charitable assumption is something is unjust, because God gave man anger to deal with injustice. That's why we have anger. That's why Moses killed people. The meekest man alive. That's why he killed people. Why Jesus ran, it's been said many times, when Jesus ran money changers out of the temple. That's why Phineas took a spear, stabbed two people straight through, violently killed them, and God said, I want him to be my priest immediately after that. It's because anger exists for a reason to overcome injustice. It's the concupiscible appetite, and it's the appetite that gives a man strength. It fills your body with strength to overcome obstacles preventing you from attaining some good. The irascible appetite, is that. The concupiscible appetite is the one. Concupiscible appetite says, I am hungry, I will eat. The irascible appetite says, I am hungry, I will cook. That's what those are. And that's what anger is. And then there is the sin of anger, which is when you have a disordinate anger that overcomes your reason. But the saints, many times, there's a famous story of St. Philip Neri doing this, used anger on purpose. Father's got to use. I've killed many animals. I've spilled a lot of blood, more blood than most people. And especially in this modern, effeminate age. And the first time I did it, I had to have anger. I had to get angry at the chicken in order to have enough strength to pull its neck and not set it down and watch it walk away. So you just get angry. Why haven't you died? I have a job right now to kill you, and I can't kill you. It made me sick to my stomach, but that's what a man's gonna do. And so I'll tell you the specific thing that kind of there's another situation that I don't know if I've mentioned inadvertently, but I can just tell this is an error in the church that's poisoning the church right now. That's poisoning all the people I have to deal with, is that they think that a man could defend his family from an intruder trying to kill his own unborn son, trying to do it out of ignorance, but trying to do it. And if he cusses, he has to apologize, and he's the one that has mortally sinned and needs to go to confession. That's I believe, in the church. There was a banker, good Catholic banker. He forgot to tell me about $35 fee. So, here I am with all my friends, $35 a month fee, which is not a lot of money. I spend that. It's fine. If he had told me about it, it wouldn't be a problem. But he forgot to tell me about it. And so I got angry at him. I said, you needed to tell me about this. I have a lot of friends I've pointed in your way, and I did not know about this $35 a month fee. What do you think small business owners care about? They care about the regular monthly expenses because that determines how much money they have to make. That's how business works. And I got angry at him, so I didn't cuss at him or anything like that, as far as I recall. Him, I said he was acting like an idiot, something like that. And he was. And then rather than modify angry, so I'm the one who has the problem. And so he didn't talk to me for months. When I heard about him, he better tell the story soon. Yeah, so and that's the problem. People see a man get angry for a just reason, and then rather than modify the behavior because they don't understand the way the world's actually supposed to work. So my daughter, same thing. I have to teach her. It's like, you have done something deliberately disobedient. I have told you not to do this. You have done this. I punish you. And then she thinks I'm the one wrong for punishing her. She said, I feel like you've done something wrong for spanking me. Well, I understand why you feel that way because it's not pleasant for you. But I have not done anything wrong. This is the way you get treated if you act badly because I love you. It's not easy to do it. That should be common sense. I'm amazed that Catholics don't know this. This isn't a natural law. Do you think man has anger for no reason? Our big problem is English. We don't have the right words. We have special words that you can only use when you're angry. And then those words are off limits. No other language works like that. And it's because of the history of English. And so people are very confused. We don't differentiate between anger and wrath. People try to do it, but it's mostly Protestants, because Protestants are picking up on the natural law. Protestants are doing exorcism, driving off demons, because they're not full of the errors that have been forced down their throats by Americanism. It's been going on since 1850. It's been, there was a bishop in America that started telling people, okay, you just need to not be honest about what you believe so that you can live in peace in this country. Don't tell people what you really do believe, even if pressed on it, and just blend in. And that error has caused so much confusion that the average Catholic has no idea what's true and what's not true anymore. And he doesn't know what a sin is anymore, because Protestants think all sin is equal. Some of them do. And so, but now they've figured out, because they've seen ritualistic pedophilia, that all sins are not equal. There are some that are very serious, and so they start talking about, well, the wicked are the ones who are unforgivable, and that kind of thing. I was in these circles making these arguments because we could all tell. We could all tell with just the Bible and natural law in our own hearts, reading the Bible, we could say, well, there are some things that are much worse than other things. Because you see, God himself, I was just reading God talking to St. Catherine, and he says, I was reading something, but one thing he said to St. Catherine was, from hatred you can derive, that's like the beginning of virtue. It can give birth to virtue. It's properly aligned hatred will lead to virtue, and that's hatred of sin. That's what he's talking about. But Catholics probably don't even know that, yeah, you should hate a lot of things. They say hate the sin, but don't hate the sinner. Well, what does that even mean? Because I don't see you even capable of hate. You're lukewarm, cold. Anyways, listen, somebody can watch it in live, so obviously I'm just ranting. I'll tell you what happened. So I let a woman in my house, poor woman, and she kind of became more and more presumptuous, going through any part of my house whenever she wanted to. Came to my wife's bedroom to talk to her and tell her to pray better, which is something that has hurt her in the past quite a bit. And then my wife basically tells me I don't really want to see that woman anymore. She's causing me too much anxiety. My wife's sick, very sick right now. And so we were talking about other things, and I said to her, I don't want you to tell this to my wife. Give her too much anxiety. And she says, well, I can't keep secrets from your wife. I said, well, you don't understand. My wife doesn't want to know about these things. And then in response to that, this woman thought that she should go around me and talk to my wife, and came to the bedroom again and asked if my wife was in there. And I said, she's asleep. And she said, well, I'm going to talk to her. I said, what are you going to talk about? She said, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to tell her. I said, what if I don't give you permission to talk to her? And then she said in my house that she didn't have to obey that prescription, that she can talk to my wife whenever she wants, even if I'm telling her no. That's going to hurt her badly. We lost a son. I had a miscarriage because my wife was pregnant, and my wife believes, because women talk to her the way you're talking to her now, that's what made her triggered so many powerful emotions from childhood trauma that it caused a miscarriage. And I understand my wife, and I'm protecting her and my unborn child. Hopefully we have more children. And I'm telling you this, and trust me, do not talk to my wife. And you're saying, I'm just going to talk to her anyways and disregard you because I don't like the way you run your marriage. Your wife should be available for me to talk to whenever I want, and I should be able to say anything I want to her. So I cussed at her and said, get out of my house and don't come back to my house because you're threatening my family. And now she thinks I need to apologize to her, and that's it. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, sorry for wasting your time, but I did need to get it off my chest. I've got a lot of mediums where I am communicating, and this is probably more appropriate for an article for Catholic 365. If I had any viewers from interviewing Dr. Michael Jones would probably lost by doing this, but I'm a hardworking man, and I'm a publisher, so I publish things, and basically, I'm also, it's a spiritual act to teach the ignorant. It's an act of mercy. So that's what I'm trying to do. I know this is not the best medium, but I'm very limited in what I'm capable of doing. So maybe look for that essay. And you can follow me on Catholic 365 by searching my name, which is Nathaniel. So that should work for you. Maybe I can link it. God bless you. I apologize. I understand. I was just getting things off my chest. This used to be cool 5-6 years ago. Everyone did this on YouTube, but now I think you have to prepare. I don't know. It's a different phase of marketing on YouTube. God bless you. Remember, our most gracious Virgin Mary, never was unknown. And we fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or self thy intercession was incarnated, inspired by his confidence and flying to thee. Virgin, Mother, to thee we come, for thee we stand, and send hopes and our hope. Mother of the Lord incarnate, find now our petition, and mercy. Well, and it's just phases. I mean, it's hard because I understand marketing, but I have an abstract approach to the world, and it's just such a joke. It's so arbitrary what people listen to. I get it. I can't expect people to listen. That's fine. I do want people to listen to. There's just phases. Like I said, 5 years ago, everyone wanted the off-the-cuff thing because that's what sounded sincere. People wanted vulgarity. I think that's where Nicholas Fuentes grew up in, because I was on YouTube back then too. And in fact, when Charlie Kirk died, God rest his soul, first thing I thought about was something Dr. Michael Jones did, where he sent an employee to talk to Mr. Fuentes. And that man was proper. And something that Nick Fuentes did to Charlie Kirk. And those were the most memorable things. So, I don't know. I'm sure there's things wrong with Mr. Fuentes, but I would charitably assume that he's angry for a very good reason, and that he cusses for a good reason. And I'm not going to tell young men not to cuss when they're literally pedophiles in mainstream news connected to powerful people that everyone's concerned about. How does that happen? Well, one of the ways that happens is there's not enough anger. One of the ways the Catholic Church abuses children, not the Catholic Church, but certain priests that infiltrate the Catholic Church, is because there were not enough men around who got angry about it. Like that dude that shot that guy that molested his child. Everybody that I know of approves of that action. Now, I don't advocate violence and whatnot. We got to live by law, but anger is totally acceptable, and there are many things correct about anger, and there's not enough anger. And if there was more anger and people were more reasonable about it instead of pretending like there shouldn't be any anger at all, then maybe we can teach men where the anger should be directed effectively in order to get out of this brutal slavery we live under called usury that allows pedophiles to run the world even though nobody would listen to them. The fact that everyone's working for feminine weirdos corporations is because nobody gets angry about this in a manner that's virtuous. So, all right, God bless you. Thanks for listening. You did.